another Ants on a Rock video. Welcome to the Ant Corner.
Welcome back to my massive multi-species vivarium. If you're new to the channel or just stopping by, this massive space is filled with loads of different inverts, including isopods, beetles, vampire crabs, and of course ants. Home to my massive Polyrhachis Dive colony. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that sub button. This ever-expanding colony came from humble beginnings. Only about 2.5 years ago, we received this colony. It fast outgrew its small housing that we had it in first, and we moved it into this much larger tank. Polyrhachis dives are a type of weaver ant, meaning they live arboreally. This basically means that they live above ground. In fact, they really like to live in bushes at that medium up sort of range, rather than really high up in the trees like some weaver ant species. If you look at how the nest formed, we gave them lots of scaffolding as they expanded and grew. Starting off with a very small nest, they grew in numbers and they will expand fast. They expand their nest by collecting debris and leaf matter and using their larvae to weave it together. The larvae are really interesting. With the ability to produce silk, the worker ants will carry them about and stimulate them with their antennae. Now look at the massive structure that they've built. It's absolutely massive. It takes up most of the back of the tank. They built it covering over 2 whole heat pads and the surrounding areas. These heat pads run at about 30 degrees. That's centigrade, of course, with the front of the tank being about 26 degrees. This gives them a really good variant in temperatures. They chose their nesting site, so they obviously like it very warm. With the pond, this makes the whole setup very humid as well. Inside of the nest is a honeycomb structure with lots of interconnecting chambers, built with airflow and stability in mind. A truly amazing structure. These will last many years, even in the elements. One common issue I see when keeping them in captivity is offering them too much space too fast, or not enough scaffolding. And I say scaffolding, I mean lots and lots of sticks. Growing the way they do, we needed to add more space. So we added a second and a third tank connected by this bridge. It's like a super highway for them, and it's used not just by the ants, but by beetles and other inverts too. Our second tank is again another bioactive tank, with even more species of isopods and other critters living in there, meaning they need lots of food. So I'm going to put a pork chop in now, and we'll see what happens. Yes, a whole pork chop. Coming back after 2 days, the pork chop is almost gone. The ants are still eating it, but it seems they've nearly had their fill. Now the other inverts will move in and strip it clean. I may need to remove the bone in a day or so. It's becoming more economical to feed them with pork chops like this, rather than giving them 50-ish roaches a week. although I would recommend for smaller colonies, roaches and waxworms. They do also really enjoy fruit flies, but in a setup like this, the flies will often escape out of the top of the enclosure, and you don't want them running about your house. If you're enjoying this video, feel free to hit that like button. It helps the channel out loads, and I really appreciate it. One major downside of a colony this size is they just take over everything. The pond is now suffering, and I've been wanting to get in and get the vampire crabs out. This is something I think is impossible though, as I just don't know where the tunnels go underneath the rocks. That and all the ants attacking me, I don't really think I can do it. I will build a replica pond in a fresh tank just in case I can get the odd one or two out. The other issue, of course, with a colony this size, and this is somewhat my own fault, is them escaping up the wire, and obviously now there's been a nuptial flight, they fly as well. We often find them around the house. The females have been found in the opposite side of the house, even upstairs. We recently came back from hosting one of our shows to find the floor absolutely moving, with worker ants everywhere. We also regularly find queens around the house. It keeps life interesting, as I found one in my glass of water the other day and almost drank her. We have no real issue with it though, we just tube them up and wait to see what happens. Sometimes they're fertile, sometimes they're not. I don't really know why, but it is common that among Polyrhachis dives they are quite aggressive towards each other. They often kill off workers, seemingly at random. I expect this is something to do with weaker workers using up valuable resources. Well, that's it for this video. I really do hope you've enjoyed this, and you might have enjoyed some of the information in it as well. I'll see you again soon for the next one.